Retirement shouldn't wait till old age. We ain't got to wait till we old.
You don't.
When you structure the financials and the financing and the money and all that stuff early, using smart tools, protection, and education, you take control of the legacy and you give your family a chance to thrive well beyond your years. Do you remember your grandma's front porch? You know, that spot where stories were told, kisses were stolen, and sweet tea was always being sipped. Now imagine giving your family a place to make those same memories, but in a brand new, energy efficient, and home that was built just for you. At Country Boy Homes, we help folks just like you find that forever feeling. Whether it's your first home, your next home, or we're done with rent forever, like seriously home. We specialize in affordable and durable manufactured and modular homes, the kind that make room for muddy boots, big dreams, and second helpings. Come see what coming home really feels like. Call 843-574-8979 today. Country Boy Homes, built to last, priced for you. Good morning, guys, and welcome to another fabulous episode of Exit Strategies Radio Show. Hey, I'm your host, Corwyn J, Melette, broker owner of Exit Realty, Low Country Group in beautiful North Charleston, South Carolina. Hey, if this is your first time listening to the show, you, sir or ma'am, are in for a treat because our mission is very simple here. That is to empower our community through financial literacy and real estate education. We're legacy building. That's what we do. That's what we encourage you to make sure that you're focused on and quote unquote your day-to-day activities and so forth and so on. So look here, we got to give a quick shout out as always to our listeners, those who tune in faithfully. Got to give a shout out. And I saw this go by me not too long ago, but a shout out to Mac and Flo McKellar on their anniversary. Saw that go by. Wonderful couple, great people. Pastor Vanderbilt Evans Sr., I always have to get that senior on that guy name because that dude will jack me up if I don't. And his beautiful bride, Sandy Evans. And also my mama, y'all know out there in Monkey's Corner, but all the way back to Hollywood, what you know, no good. And my folks that listen, tune in Mullins and Marion, South Carolina. Thank y'all so much. Got to give a shout out to my guy, Eric Troy up there, who's always empowering and making a difference in the community there. Keep doing what you're doing, brother. We love you. So look, today, yes, sir. Now look here. I always tell y'all to get y'all pen, pad, paper, whatever it is ready. I would be remiss if I said today not to do the same because we have someone here today who is a phenomenal human being. Now, we don't always get to say that about people, but they are a phenomenal human being. They're really focused on doing the work within the community to really help and empower people financially. So I'm very excited today to have none other than Miss Shateka Husser. She is the founder. She started this thing, guys, and CEO. She is the boss of Husser Financial Solutions. She is mission-driven, determined to help people achieve tax-free lifetime income. I love those words together. I love the free after the tax, though, not before. And financial security and early retirement. Summarizing her slogan that she goes by, which is to retire before you expire. I love that. She's a #1 international, worldwide, guys, best-selling author, certified professional coach, holds an MBA with a business management background. But here's the thing that I really want you guys to take away. She is a veteran. She started by serving people and has continued yet over to serve more. She brings corporate discipline to personal finance and wealth building with experience in investing and insurance, retirement planning, and creating frameworks for people, guys. Framework for us to be able to get out again to retire before we aspire. Shateka, how are you doing today? And welcome to the Exit Strategies.
Doing amazing. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here. I appreciate the opportunity.
Now, look here. I done told them people what you do, but I want you to tell them too. So you tell them what it is that and you frame it your way because I done gave mine.
Okay, so I like to introduce myself as Shateka Husser, founder of Husser Financial Solutions, where we help you retire before you expire. So if that's what you desire, what you aspire, we are the ones you hire. Our goal is always to get your bank account on fire with a whole lot of lifetime tax-free retirement income that you will not outlive. Listen, I understand we got a lot going on, but at the end of the day, we have got to get these finances right. So born into poverty, I say I might not have been born into a family of wealth, but a family of wealth will come from me. And that may not necessarily be for me personally, but I want to have an impact and an influence in my city, country, nationwide. We're actually in 21 states right now. And so we're just looking to help people level up in the space of positioning for retirement because most people know the traditional methods for retirement, but they don't understand that there's actually some non-traditional, unconventional wisdom that they could possibly follow so that they can have not only just retirement accounts, but also have income and benefits and death benefit, all these different types. So I didn't understand what I did not know, making all the money that I made in corporate, having made a couple pivots from Army officer, as you can see back behind me on the wall, to corporate high level leader to now entrepreneur and business owner. Now I realize that it's all about how much money you can keep. It's all about making money while you sleep, passive income. And so I love what you do, Corwyn, because I was a real estate investor for quite some time. I bought, half a dozen properties. But at the end of the day, I didn't understand what I did not know what as it relates to money. And so my goal is to just to help empower people that make a lot of money, but just like, my gosh, I'm paying people's salary and taxes. How can I get around that when it comes to income and retirement? Because at the end of the day, that's eating it into my retirement account. And so that's where I come in at. And I just help educate people around that.
Let's take a short break.
Do you remember your grandma's front porch? You know, that spot where stories were told, kisses were stolen, and sweet tea was always being sipped. Now imagine giving your family a place to make those same memories, but in a brand new, energy efficient, and home that was built just for you. At Country Boy Homes, we help folks just like you find that forever feeling. Whether it's your first home, your next home, or we're done with rent forever, like seriously home. We specialize in affordable and durable manufactured and modular homes, the kind that make room for muddy boots, big dreams, and second helpings. Come see what coming home really feels like. Call 843-574-8979 today. Country Boy Homes, built to last, priced for you. So look here, I'm going to have you start, we talk a lot on this show about mindset. Legitimately, if you don't get this piece here right, then nothing else follows correctly after that. I mean, it's like, quote unquote, marching into the water before Moses said, hey, let there be land. You know what I'm saying? Seriously, all you're doing is just going where you shouldn't be going. So
Right.
Let's start this from, I'm going to say a fundamental. I want you to kind of walk us through, if you don't mind. You talk to a client, but to prospective client, someone reaches out to you, says, hey, look, I need to get my stuff together because it's all over the place and it don't look like it's supposed to look, at least not in my eyes. What's the first thing that you do?
First thing I'm going to do is have them to fill out what's called a needs analysis. I need to understand their financial situation, what they have going on. What are their liabilities? What are their assets? What is their vision? What are they trying to accomplish? How much income do they want to have? There's a lot of questions. So I'm just deep diving into who they are and what their desires are. And then we're going to roadmap around that to figure out what's the best course of action in terms of how we're going to get them there.
So a lot of people depend on, or let me phrase that. Well, no, I'm going to say depend on. Let's be transparent and real. A lot of people in our community, we
Yes,
depend on Social Security, right?
absolutely.
We look at Social Security as being the end all be all. We look at it as being our retirement. Tell people what they need to know.
That is
Because I know
such
you got a lot to say about that. Let's go.
That's such a myth. We were just talking about that again. There's just so much out there in terms of what's going to happen with Social Security. No one really understands or knows for sure. Economists have been saying for years that it wouldn't be around between 2025 and 2034, 2035. And so we don't know what's going to happen with Social Security. But should something happen with Social Security, you need to have a plan in place. You need to have a supplemental plan in place. And that's where we come in at to help you understand what it is that you need to do backward planning. So we know that the average person, if they're W-2, not someone that's a business owner or an investor, someone that's a W-2, the average person is going to have a 60% decrease in their income when they retire. They're going to work 40 years of their life for 40 hours a week to retire on only 40% of their income. So a 60% gap. So how do we close that gap? That's what we backward plan, okay? And to understand, okay, this is how much money we have got to put into something to try to see a certain amount of income to come out of that. Now, it just depends on people's risk tolerance. There's a myriad of different sequence of returns that can happen. As you well know, 2008, the housing crash, 2020 with the pandemic, things can happen. So we base it based off of historical outcomes and in terms of how the money has been growing in different accounts. And we structure it based on that. But really, it's about what do I need to do? How much money am I going to need in order to supplement Social Security if it's still around? And it's looking at the last 10 years that you've been working and what you paid into it. So if you didn't put anything into it, of course, you don't really have one. And so that may look different for a business owner. They have to totally do something different because they have nothing paid into it. And so that's the reason why we're saying that Social Security is probably not going to be here because more and more people are leaving W-2. They are pivoting and becoming business owners because they're becoming wiser. Because they read the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad, where Rob talks about the 4 quadrants, the cash flow quadrants, and how it is that 95% of people are on the wrong side of money. Only 5% of people understand how money works in terms of investing and taxation and things of that nature. And that is your business owner and your investor. That's the 5%. The other 95%, they are paying too much in taxes because a W-2 is the highest tax bracket. In other words, they pay the most amount of taxes. The tax code is not written for the W-2 employer, right? So let's look at that. Everything that starts with a 4, everything, 401k, 403b, 457, TSP, IRA, they all are tax codes. You're going to pay taxes. So what if we could figure out a way to get around, like the wealthy do, and learn IRS Code 7702. IRS Code 7702 tells us, I'm just going to put it out there.
Please, let's go.
The elephant in the room, a permanent cash value policies. A permanent cash value. Listen, everybody's not able. Some people don't have the health, things of that nature. You might have to go a different route, but we have all types of strategies for people, whether it's real estate, whatever. But at the end of the day, stocks, whatever, you can figure out a way to not have to go into your account, all right, and take your money out, and now you're depleting it. You need to be able to borrow against it. So the wealthy are borrowing against it because they realize that because they have something like a permanent cash value policy, they can dig into their account, put their hand in a cookie jar, eat up all the cookies, and it still be growing and compounding while they sleep, even though they already took the cookies out. Where do they do that at? Only in a permanent cash value policy, right? It doesn't matter what type. It just has to be a permanent cash value policy. It could be a whole life. It could be an IUL. We're not going to dig into the weeds, but at the end of the day, where else could you have your money grow for you while you're sleeping?
So
And you have the money on another whole asset, like a business, like a car that you put on Turo, like a home that you're putting on Airbnb. The list goes on. So your money is compounding inside your permanent cash value policy and it's over here on an asset, not a liability. We don't want to, listen, we don't want to flaunt and just buy cars that look good. It need to be a car that you put on Turo and make some money with, okay? But at the end of the day, you got another stream of income from your asset. You got another stream of income coming in the future from what? Your permanent cash value policy. If you have it in a 401k, 403b, 457, all these other things, right? All the traditional ones that they taught us that we thought was okay, that we didn't understand because we thought it, to your point, was a catch-all, be-all, Social Security. Those things fail us, right? I have a case study that I talk about all the time in my masterclass with brother A, brother B. Brother A ends up going back to work in his 70s like most people do. I mean, that's the reason why I go hard because I need people to understand that money's going to run out. All you have is all you have, and you have no leverage if all you have is some type of traditional employer plan that starts with a 4 or an IRA. People think, oh, I'll get it in the Roth IRA. They think that's the plan. But a Roth, you can still lose money in. You can still lose money in the market with a Roth IRA. You cannot lose any money in an index type of account. So an index annuity, an index universal life policy, something that's indexed gives you the best of both worlds. You can gain when the market goes up. It will compound and make interest for you. But when the market crashes, you can sleep at night. Rest assured, you're not going to lose a penny in the market. And so at the end of the day, some people, they don't want the risk, but they want the gain. So an index would work for them. Some people might be a little bit like me. I'm very aggressive with my money personally. And if you're aggressive, then you might want to be okay with that. But at the end of the day, I tell people, do not invest what you cannot afford to lose. If you can't afford to lose it, you should not be investing. And you should not be investing anything until you have your what? Emergency plan in place. You don't have an emergency plan, but you're investing. Come on now. We cannot do money that way. And I know people are out here doing it. So I'm going to tap you on your head.
Look at you. You're putting it on the carpet.
Listen,
look here. I love it.
There's levels to this.
So you touched on the infinite banking concept, which I'm familiar with it. Love it. I've read the book or several books actually on it a number of times. So let's delve into that because that is just a strategy that works. So I never thought about what you just said, which is all the things with fours, because Roth and traditional, one, you pay taxes on the money before it goes in. The other, you pay taxes when it come out. I mean, so you're going to wait and tax me on the money I make off of it, and the other one I got to pay the tax on the money I made to put in it to start with. Regardless, you're still getting taxed on it, period. So this concept, how often do you advise people to pursue this, and especially younger folks? I mean, our listenership is very broad. So let's get into that. What does that look like, and how can people make a difference in their financial future?
Yeah,
Utilize.
absolutely. So I often tell people I need to understand what's your budget. That's the first place we're going to start. And that is the reason why we start with the needs analysis. If somebody's selling you something without a needs analysis, they're a salesperson. I'm not a salesperson. I educate like I just did. That's why I can just rattle it off because I'm always having these concepts that we're talking about. At the end of the day, I'm going to push for that because I realize that people need leverage, whether
Mm,
they understand leverage or not. And so I'm always going to advocate for the infinite banking concept. You don't need too much insurance because you need to understand the dime method and that's how much insurance you need to have and nothing more, nothing less. But at the end of the day, when you come to me and you say, well, I want to do something with retirement, I'm going to find out, like I said before, what is your goals? And then we're going to backward plan. But at the end of the day, I want to make sure that you understand the products that are at hand. So if you have a whole lot of debt, you don't need, say, for example, an IUL. It's not
mhm,
going to work for you because you can't access your money for 10 to 13 years, depending on what carrier you work. You need something like a whole life because you need to have access to your money right now because
mhm,
you want to basically use a whole life to funnel your money through the policy. In other words, you're not necessarily putting too much more than what you've already been putting in terms of paying into something. You're putting it into your whole life, but you're going right back and taking like 80% of it back out to pay off your
mm,
bills. So it's
mhm.
kind of like getting a term policy, but do a whole life policy, if that makes
Mm,
sense.
it does.
So, because, like, for example, quick math, say $600, okay, is what you're putting in it every month. You're going to go back and get $480 back out of it, right? Because that's 80% of it. And you're going to put that $480 on your bill while the other amount of money is keeping the policy alive until you can do better later on in life. What you're doing is locking in your insurability at your youngest age possible and at your best health possible. We don't
Mm,
want you to get diabetes, dementia, heart attack, cancer, these types of things, because now you may not be insurable if very high insurance or very low insurance. In other words, you might only be qualifying for a final expense type because that's all you can get because you have these chronic critical or terminal illnesses that has now caused you to not even be eligible for an insurance. So
mhm,
we want you to get that beforehand. So the first thing I want to do is make sure, do you have that already inside of your portfolio? Because there's steps to freedom. Financial, we talk about financial freedom, but what is financial freedom? What are the steps? The steps, making sure that you have cash flow, making sure that you have an emergency fund, making sure that you pay off your debt, making sure that you have protection against the market volatility, protection against taxation, protection of lawsuits, making sure that you have a legacy in place. There is no other financial asset out here, nothing else out here that will give you all steps to financial freedom except for a permanent cash value policy. You look at stocks, you look at crypto, you look at real estate, you look at EFT, all these other things. They don't give you all the steps. The only product that's going to give you all steps to financial freedom you got to have as your foundation is a permanent cash value policy. And that's why I'm so passionate about it. And that's why I want to make sure that when I talk to somebody, to your point and your question, is this something that's already inside your portfolio? And if it's not, let's start there first, because that is the foundation for your freedom.
So it's something for our listeners, and I'm definitely gonna. Sometimes we think about financial freedom as the freedom to spend freely, if that makes sense. And a lot of people focus on spending freely versus building what you're talking about, what we're talking about, which is making sure that you not only have emergency funds, but also get into how can I strategize. So, I've seen this concept in action at play where people take money out and go buy, they got a car, they essentially borrow from themselves. So instead of borrowing from the bank and paying interest to them, I take the money off, go buy the car cash, and make the payment back to my policy, which continues to build the cash value. I
Absolutely.
get to recycle the money
I,
over and over and over again.
yes.
That's a win right there. And
Yes.
people in the business realm do that to buy equipment and to grow and build their businesses. So let's go to next step. Is one of the things again, how to retire before you expire. I love that.
There's a
So,
story behind that.
well, let's go. What's the
So
story?
so in 2018, I had a couple of my friends. Imagine your two closest friends right now. Who are your two closest friends? You don't have to say it. But imagine both of them passing away within 4 days. Suddenly, unexpectedly, that's what happened to me in 2018. So that's a real thing for me. The one friend was 50 years old. The other one was 46 years old. Had just flown from Baltimore to Atlanta to visit the one for her 50th birthday. Drove from Atlanta to Charleston to see the other one because she got diagnosed with cancer. A month later, they both passed away from what they said was the flu. but it probably was COVID that nobody knew about. So
Mhm.
that's what happened. So when I say retire before you expire, I lost my 2 closest friends in that season while living in Baltimore because they had the flu. And so they never really lived, is what I like to say, in terms of having that lifestyle of freedom. And because they had been working, one was an entrepreneur, the other one was an executive that works downtown here in Charleston for HR. And but at the end of the day, I want to make sure that people can live more of their life and not have to work all of their life because they have a plan in place. They should have options. If you want to work because you love the work, that's one thing. But if that's not your calling and you're just in a career and that's not your calling, and you're trying to pivot into your calling, and let's get you into a position to where you can now have enough money so that you can do what you need to do and go ahead and pivot sooner than later. These young people, they want to retire at 25 and 35. They're not trying to wait to 65. Let's just be clear. A Gen Z is not waiting to 65 all day. I got to get a quick plan for them. But yes, let's talk about it.
Wow. So that's heavy, but that also gives like some background as to the foundation, if you will, of the ministry, if you will, in the work that you do. So getting back and coming back around the mindset, a lot of this stuff, Shateka, is high level. I'm not going to
Yes.
say it's over anybody's head.
Yes.
It is very attainable, understandable, at least in my opinion. But what fears, what objections, what things that do you work to overcome with clients? What have you encountered in trying to get them to understand these concepts and seek to move forward?
Yeah, so most people get it. By the time they watch my video, the masterclass and everything, they get it. They understand the situations and where they are currently and where they're trying to go. Because I talk about the traditional accounts and how they have failed people because they just don't have the long-term care. I think that's something I look at the hit list, and people need to understand that with their retirement. The hit, HIT, H, healthcare, I, inflation, T, taxes. If your retirement account does not have a strong hit component to it, then you need to relook it, right? And so 75% of people will not be able to use all of their money for retirement because they'll end up having some type of challenge medically. And so they got to have long-term care. And so people overlook that, but that's like the number one termite in retirement that people overlook. So it's like paying all your money into a medical bill or to a facility because you've been hit with health challenges. And so the main thing I want to do is when they come to me, I want to back up plan that too, because some of them have families with different types of medical history. And unless their health is where it needs to be, they need to start looking at that as well. That needs to be a part of the plan. So healthcare, inflation. Does your account grow and compound while you sleeping? Do you have, if you say, for example, an annuity, does it have a cost of living allowance for a rider attached to it? That's going to continue to grow no matter what because of the economy. Because we know year over year is about 3%. Okay, we need to factor that in. And so when I meet with people and they come to me, I think the biggest thing for them is, do they have the finances? A lot of people come to me and they say, "Oh, I'm not even right. I have a lady right now. I'm not ready and I'm 40 years old." These people come and they don't have anything sometimes. And so it's a matter of discipline. How do I discipline? Where can I, and it's on me to help them find the money. Because like you have all of this, you have your money going into this and this. If you restructured it, you can do this. So basically understanding, again, going back to that needs analysis, that's why I can't just sell you something. I need to see what you have going on and see how we can leverage what you already have. Because at the end of the day, it's really about structuring. How do we structure your policy? How do we structure how your finances are coming out? What's going to hit what first? And then be able to give you the output that you're looking for, ideally. But if you say that, okay, I need to have long-term care, then that's going to be something that needs to be a component inside of an IUL. You need to add that to your whole life, for example, if that's something that you're needing to have, if you don't already have that already. I just want to put that plug in there because people a lot of times overlook that. And then, your aging parents, do you have it on them so that your retirement isn't trying to help them because you still got to work, but now you got to pay into a facility to keep the care because you can't care for them because you got to work.
Mhm.
So these are some of the conversations that I'm having with people, some of the challenges that they are having. But at the end of the day, we got to find the money and we got to figure out some passive income strategies for you. And I actually just started partnering with an organization to help people with understanding how they can use AI and other types of wealth building strategies by doing a course in this community that I have that's a part of, I should say, to help people that are, because I realize that I'm called to the wealthy as well as to those that are disadvantaged. I'm not just called to just the
Mhm.
wealthy or just the disadvantaged. I can't, don't put me in a box. That's all I'm saying. Cause I'm multidimensional. I can work with both of them, but I have products for those that are disadvantaged that need the extra help. How do I get more passive income plays? What could I do? There's so many different ways that you can make money today. If you're not making money online, what is wrong with you? Like for real. And so that's where that community comes in at because it has different opportunities of passive income plays so that they can now have another stream of income that they can now put towards their retirement because they realize, okay, I need to be drop shipping or I need to be doing trading or whatever. I've done it all. You listen, I'm like a Jamaican. So I help you understand what you need to do passive income wise. So now you have these other options that you can tap into. Now you just got to do the work. And then
Uh-huh.
also funding. We started adding that on to our business as our newest service is funding, helping people that have personal or business loan challenges, give them
Hmm.
some funding, or they may not even have challenges, just need funding. And they want to do a new startup, a new business, because we realize that business is how you get around paying taxes, right? That's what I'm just gonna put it out there. It's the legal way of getting around paying taxes, okay? Because if you understand that you're gonna have a business, if you make 6 figures, you wanna use that business for leverage, and you wanna make sure that you tap into what was before the pandemic, 495 deductions, but after the pandemic, 675 deductions. You're gonna tap into that to make sure you get your piece of the pie like everybody else, and make sure that money that you're able to keep is gonna be used for your retirement.
Makes perfect sense. Makes
Yes.
perfect sense. So, Shateka, I want to make sure we get where can people reach you? Because look,
Shateka.com. Go to
oh,
Shateka.com. Simple. My name is right there. It's spelled properly. Shateka.com. Everything is there for you. I have my business card on there for you. Listen, everything, even the communities, a little inexpensive community that's on that AI and wealth community. The top 2 links on there. When you go into it, it's like a link tree, different links to be able to see what I have to offer. I work primarily with executive,
mhm.
military, and federal employees, but I work with business owners, truck drivers. I work with a lot of different types of people, but that's primarily who I work with.
So, I appreciate what it is that you do. I mean, I see you doing it, and I appreciate that you seek to serve first. You speak so passionately about the things in this financial realm and about helping people to create financial security and retirement freedom. That whole retire before you expire thing, that's embedded for me right now. And it's not just about the income, it's about protection, it's about peace of mind, it's about those things that are intangible, which is the ability to be able to rest at night and not have this fear, this worry, or whatever it is that exists. So, if you don't mind, as it relates to how you assist and help people, we talk a lot about legacy on this show. Again, what we're trying to do is get people educated and help them to establish so that the generation that they leave behind them is educated and in turn can do the same and so forth and so on, that we're adding to and not just consuming and taking away. Because we see people try to take care of their parents because they don't want to place them, and they deplenish anything that mom or dad may or whoever may have. Everything is consuming versus adding to. So your strategies, what you advise, how does that play out into helping people establish and build their legacy?
Sure. So basically, it's going to be around making sure that they have that long-term care in place based on what you just said. So they're looking to have something that's going to help them to be able to supplement their income or their aging parent. That's going to be something that they need to put in place now, right? Like already have a long-term care plan on them. Some people that may look like an IUL, for somebody it may look like that's a supplemental plan, or they might have, say, another actual long-term care plan in
Mm.
place so that they don't have to dig into their wallets, but also on them and their husband so that they don't become a burden for their child later on in life when something happens medically. So I hope I'm answering your question
No,
right
you
because,
are.
okay. So yeah.
Okay. So Shatika, we have quickly gotten to the end of today's show. I look, I definitely want to make arrangements to get you back in. I can't wait for our audience to get this information and reach out to you because that's what they should be doing. But I want you to do one more thing for me. The masterclass. What is it? How can people get connected to it?
Absolutely. So basically, on that link, they can, number one, I'm going to add it on there again because I don't have it all the time live. So
Mm,
they can actually message me. So
okay.
they can message my team and I at staff@winningandwealth.org if they have any questions or if they want to get into the masterclass, if they don't see it on shateka.com. But I am going to put it on there right after here so that it's going to say masterclass. Basically, they can sign up for that. And that would be a great way for them to be able to come on board because I haven't primarily like once a month live, something like that. But my goal is to make sure that they're in that class because I always say that retirement is not an age, retirement is
Hmm.
an income. It's you
Hmm.
having an income that is gonna be able to sustain you
Hmm.
beyond your work as a W-2 or even as a business owner, right? So how have you
Hmm.
structured income so that you can now alleviate having to work? At the end of the day, people jump off their jobs. They say, I'm stepping out on faith. I advise against that. Make sure that your passive income is meeting where you are now before you just jump off of a
Hmm.
job. I think there's wisdom because people are doing it wrong and they have no retirement and they have to work for the rest of their life because they didn't allow their job to be their sponsor for their business before their business blew up, because the business doesn't always take off. That might look good for one person, but that might look good for you and your work habits and your knowledge level and your skill sets. And, it's just so much. And so wait till you see that your business is at least doing half of what you're doing in salary before you even start to think about leaving your job, a full-time job that's paying you benefits and all these things, right? I would just advise against it when it comes to that, because you need to make sure that you have something for your older self. Your older self is going to thank you. Take care of your older self at the end of the day. I mean, you owe you to make sure that you have enough money. Don't just look at what the Joneses is doing. Oh, they did it. I can do it. Yeah, you can do it. You're going to do it right on your job until you see that you're doing it. That's what we're going to do. I just believe in using wisdom when it comes to money, because even the Bible says that a man and money was a fool, and money will soon part. And so I don't need you to part with your money. I'm going to need you to keep your money because you used wisdom and you went to the council of whoever your creator is. And you said, do I need to jump off my job yet? Do I really need to move right now? Maybe that person might be your wife or your husband or your children. What's your why? Why are you doing what you're doing? Because if your why is not great enough, it's not going to sustain you anyway. You can't just do it for money.
True.
Nothing is about money. It's about impact. It's about income. It's about retirement. It's about really moving from career to calling. What are you called to do? And I want to help people move from a career to calling and live their best life, because you have a sense of fulfillment when you're doing what you know you're called to do. You hate going to work because you know that's not what you're called to do. That's why you hate going to work. That's not what I was called. This is not why I was created. This is not why God made me. You know what I mean? So no, that's what we're talking about today.
I love it. I love it. So Shateka, again, thank you for being on with us today. Taking time out of your busy schedule to be here. Now, I'm going to hit a couple of takeaways, guys, for our listeners. Let me start with legacy, guys, isn't built only on making money. Shateka just said that. It ain't about the money. It's built by protecting, planning, and positioning that money wisely so future generations can benefit. It's about freedom, security, and intentionality. Guys, we got to do that. And Shateka, final takeaway I have from what I've overheard with you today: retirement shouldn't wait till old age. We ain't got to wait till we old.
You don't.
When you structure the financials and the financing and the money and all that stuff early, using smart tools, protection, and education, you take control of the legacy and you give your family a chance to thrive well beyond your years. Shateka, thank you so much again for being part of the Exit Strategies Radio Show family and for being on the show with us today.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to see how we can work together some more.
Awesome. So for our listeners, guys, look, y'all know how I feel. You know what I say. I always put the two of those things together. And I give it to you this way, was to tell you that I love you. And we're going to see you guys out there in those streets.